So you're ready to start knitting in the round. Learning how to knit in the round unlocks so many projects, including hats, sweaters, socks, the list goes on. I know it can look a little bit intimidating at first, but you've got this, I promise. Hi, I'm Hannah from knitting.com, and today we're going to learn how to join for knitting in the round on circular knitting needles. I'll also show you how to spot if and when your cast-on stitches are twisted on your knitting needles. I'll also show you how to fix it. If you're practicing along with me today, you'll want to have a pair of circular knitting needles and a row of cast-on stitches ready to go. I recommend using the smallest length circular needles you have just to keep this practice session quick and easy. If your circular needles are too long and your cast-on row won't stretch to fit, check out our magic loop tutorial in our channel. If you're ready, let's get started. I'm going to show you how to join to knit in the round, or to work in the round. It doesn't have to be knitting. The principle is the same. In this case, our stitches fit comfortably around, which makes it really easy to see what we're doing. So I've got my working yarn coming off my right needle. That's how you always want to set up, and your end on your left needle. So sometimes, again, swapped, you definitely want to make sure you're starting with this. If you're a right-handed knitter, let me put that caveat in right now. If you're a left-handed knitter, you're going to swap them. One of the biggest trouble points is twisting your cast-on row around your needles so that you're forming like a Mobius or a spiral on your cast-on row, which means you're kind of knitting in this infinite loop. Instead, what you want to see is all of your edge stitches here, like the bottom of your cast-on row should be pointed towards the center, and you can see here it starts to flip and it's on the outside. You don't want that. You want to make sure that all of your stitches are pointing inward or the same way. So you can see there's a row of purl bumps here, and you'll have a row of kind of flatter V's or swirls on the outside because it's a cast-on row. You want to make sure that all those purl bumps or whatever, they're all the same all the way around, and when you lay them next to each other, this is flat. It's not twisting around. It might be hard to see if you've got a ton of stitches on your knitting needles. Just be patient, take your time, work your way around, make sure everybody's facing the same way. You can also fix it once you get around to the stitch marker the first time, so the beginning of your row, and I'll show you how to do that. But once you get past the first row, you might as well take it all out and try again if your stitches are twisted. So it's worth getting this step right. So you can see everybody's pointing towards the center. You've got your working yarn over here on your right, and you'll be ready to knit or purl, whichever technique you'd like to do. In this case, I'd like to knit, and I have a stitch marker. It's super simple. You can get fancy, do whatever you want. In my case, it's just a simple locking stitch marker. I'm going to put that on my right needle to mark where the row ends and where it begins for the second row. Because I count the cast-on row as your first row, but I guess patterns will also count it as the first or second. So the next row after your cast-on row, that's the mark of it right there. So what we're going to do is make sure, because it's a knit, our yarn is in the back, and then we're just going to, this is the important part also, is that you've got your stitches kind of up at the tips of your needles for the first couple of stitches. You can let this one slide down a little bit more as you go, but for now you want to keep your stitches up towards the tip on the left and also on the right for the first one, but then again, this can kind of relax a little bit as you go. You'll figure that out. So you're going to just knit into that stitch normally. So you've got that working yarn. You're not working off the yarn tail. Don't touch that. Working yarn in, wrap it around, pull it through. So that's a normal knit stitch. And then you can see your two rows are now joined together. You're just going to keep spiraling around, working, working, working. And that's how you create a tube of knitting. So for hats, sweaters, anything like that, it's just all working in the round. That's what this means. So we're going to knit, knit, knit all the way to the end. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like if your stitches were twisted, how to untwist them right when you get back to here. So I'll see you back at the beginning with some twisted stitches to fix. I've realized in this case that we've twisted our cast on. What do we do? So I can kind of tell because this is ending down here, this is ending up here, so it's twisted. You can tell also later on down the line, but the more you can figure it out now, the better. You can also lay this flat again and see if all the stitches are pointing towards the inside of your needles. In this case, I know it's twisted because I twisted them. So what you'll do, you can see in order to get this to lay down like this side, what you can do is just flip your knitting needle around. So you're kind of untwisting it. And it's only really affecting the strand. That's the first join that we did. So it'll be totally invisible further into your work. If you have multiple rows, you'd have to twist all of those rows together, like the whole fabric's gonna get kind of scrunched and be pretty obvious. So you can fix it if it doesn't matter, like if you don't care about seeing that twist. But in this case, it's early, which is best, and it's all fixed. So if you were to untwist it, then you just slip that stitch marker normally. Then you're knitting into the first stitch of your row again. And here's your second row. That's all you do. That's the only way you join. It's the way you work a second row and a third row and a fourth row, is you're just knitting normally. So you're just knitting in a tube endlessly. It doesn't change between the stitch markers. This is just a great way to keep track of where the beginning and end is. So you can see here, you've only got one stitch below and you've got 2 stitches here. So this fabric is more built up because we've done an extra row compared to this side. So it's good to keep track of where your start and your end is, just so your fabric is nice and even. And that was how to join your knitting in the round on circular knitting needles. If you found this tutorial helpful, be sure to click the thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Subscribe to knitting.com if you'd like to stay in the loop, and check out our other social media channels. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Happy knitting.